am back with day 2, and this is going to be a story about my daughter and her boyfriend going to McDonald's to get the Grinch Happy Meal, Grinch Meal, Adult Meal, not sure what it's called, but I know it's a Grinch meal. And I was super jealous. I absolutely love The Grinch. It's probably one of my favorite all-time Christmas movies. Just love that movie. And I didn't even know this was out until they brought it home. And I wanted to document that for my December daily, and they just happened to do this on the second, so I thought it was perfect. And they let me have the box. I was able to cut it all up, and I'm going to fit it on this music page right here. I want to cut this top off, and I'm actually going to later use that. And what I'm going to initially do is just glue this directly to the music paper, which I think is actually a good idea anyway because the music paper is very fragile, and I was worried about it kind of breaking and cracking, and having this added to it will help with the sturdiness of the page. So I think that was a good idea to keep everything, not, falling out of the book and things. So I used some dry adhesive and some fabric tack to glue this down. I wanted to make sure it would stay for the length of time that I have this album. And sometimes that old paper kind of has a more dusty kind of, not flaky isn't the right word, but I wanted to make sure it stuck. So I was a little bit worried about the dry adhesive only, so I ended up using some of that fabric tack or the 3-in-1 glue as well. And because this is butting up right to the crease, I do want to add a little bit of washi. This washi is pretty sticky, but I'm actually sticking it on top of another piece of washi that is reinforcing the spine of that music paper. I will have to end up putting a little bit of glue behind it because it's just not sticking very well. But that's pretty typical for washi. You usually have to add a little bit of extra stuff to it, especially if you're going to put it in something you want to last. And now I decided I wanted to have a flip, and this flip is where the journaling and my photo is going to go. So I'm just trimming up that one piece of the box. I tried to decide if I wanted this side or the other, and I like this one better. So I am going to figure out how I want to adhere this to the page, and I'm just going to use that same washi. I thought the green gingham looked pretty cute, and I'm going to actually use the glue stick here on this immediately so I don't have to worry about it coming up later on. And this Pritt's glue stick is a new glue stick for me. I'm actually liking it pretty well. I was using a Uhu glue stick before, and it was nice, but I kind of like this one's like a little more like creamy or smooth compared to the Uhu. The Uhu is a bit more sticky and harder to kind of rub against the paper. So like when you're trying to add it onto the paper would move. This, because it's a little bit thinner, it's able to glide across the paper a little bit better. So I actually do really like this. So I may end up continuing to get just the Pritt glue stick instead of the Uhu, although I have used the Uhu for quite some time and it seems to work really, really well. As long as this one's working well like that, then I may continue just to use the Pritt. I wanted to reinforce the other side of the spine here, just adding the tape. I do not add any glue stick here. It was adhering pretty well to the box, so I didn't feel like I needed to add any glue. So I'm just burnishing it down really well with this bone folder. And now I don't really like that kind of brown cardboard look there, so I'm going to back this and I'm going to use some ledger paper that I have in my stash. This is vintage ledger paper, and I thought the colors went really well with all the colors that are on this page. The page itself, or the ledger itself, is a kind of a green color, and then the lines are green and brown, which match obviously the meal box and then the music paper in the background. So I'm just going to put this here, and then I'm going to trace around the back of it and then trim it out, and then just use a glue stick, I believe is what I end up using, to adhere the paper to the back side of this flip. So I trace it out with my pencil, and then I'll just use a scissors to cut it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not overly worried if the edges show from the brown. It's not going to look super crazy or anything. But this ended up cutting out pretty well. So it ends up covering pretty much the entirety of the brown. So you don't actually see that at all. So while I am gluing this down, I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me. I know this is, I think, the 4th video that I have posted for December Daily 2025. Hope you're liking the series so far. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. I would love to hear from you guys too, so you can always leave a comment. And if you haven't already, I'd love for you to be a subscriber. I know I don't probably post as many videos as I would like to or as have in the past, but I'm pretty consistent at posting my December daily. And then I do make journals and other things that I sell on my Etsy shop, and I try to do shares of those journals when I have them available in my Etsy shop. So I do have those videos up too. I would like to do more videos on YouTube, and I keep saying that that's one of my goals every year, but it just doesn't seem to happen. I just have a lot of other things going on, so I try to prioritize December daily and at least get a handful of videos up for that. But then as the year goes on, it just gets really difficult to try to fit the videoing in. And honestly, I don't craft as much as I used to. I craft when I go scrapbooking. We do a scrapbooking event 4 times a year. If you guys are in the St. Louis area or nearby area, if you guys are interested, there is a group that we scrapbook with. It's First Class Scraps. So definitely check them out if you're looking for some great community and wonderful women. And I think we all have women. There might be a man. I don't know, actually. I think it's all women. If you want to join us to scrapbook and really do anything, any kind of crafting, crocheting, sewing, scrapbooking, journaling, whatever you want to do, it's just a good time to hang out for the weekend and sit with your friends and chill. And it's a really good time. Super, super recommend checking them out. I will try to remember to put the link to their website in the description box so that you can check them out. But it is called First Class Scraps. So, like I was saying, I really don't scrapbook all that much or really craft all that much during the year. I try to make some things for the Etsy shop and such, but I just haven't been doing a lot. This year, I was doing a lot of junk journaling maybe towards the beginning of the year, but I just fell off. It's just been a little bit rough. Nothing specific, just, I don't know, just been kind of in a not the most excited mood to do crafting and things like that. I do love to craft, but just, haven't been in the mood. So hopefully this year will be a little different and I will get into my craft room a lot more. But in the meantime, I have these December daily videos for you. And while I was chatting a lot, I did trim out that handle that I talked about earlier. And well, actually, I adhered it to a piece of paper because I wanted to have a background. I didn't want that brown cardboard showing. I adhered it to a piece of the printable paper from Tracy Reed, and I'm gluing that on. And I just like the polka dots. I thought they kind of went with the little snow polka dots on the Grinch box. So here's a picture of my daughter and her boyfriend. This photo actually was taken not too long after they started dating back more in the spring, but I didn't have any new photos of them recently that I thought kind of looked wintry, I guess, like they're in like more winter clothes, and I wanted to have that more look. Most of the stuff that I have is more kind of summer attire. I decided to use this instead then. So I ended up printing this picture out because I thought it would go well, and it really isn't about the picture. I just wanted to show them in the page, and mostly I wanted to tell the story of the Grinch meal box. So what I have here is the joy is from the Tracy Reed printable, and the number 2 is also from there. I am, like I did on day 1, punching a hole in the top of the tag, adding a little eyelet, which is a black one this time. I am not going to squeeze it too much so it doesn't smash too bad, and it was perfect. And then I'm going to pull out some black and white twine from my stash. I like this twine because it's a bit on the thicker side. I have a lot of twine that's kind of pretty thin. And when I found this, I just really like kind of the thickness of it. So I thought it looked a little bit more substantial. And it took me a minute to find the end. This is a brand new roll, obviously. So I finally found it. And what I'm going to end up doing is tying on the end of this little number 2 tag. And then I'm going to also tie it to the J on joy and have it like it's hanging from the joy word. So I kind of cut out a couple of this, or a couple areas of this video because I'm fiddling with the tying like for way too long and you don't need to see that. So you'll see that I'll kind of fast forward here in a second and everything's gonna be kind of tied together and then I'll start adhering everything down to the page. So I had finally got this to work and I'm gonna trim off this excess. I'm going to glue everything together. I did decide that I wanted to kind of tuck that little extra piece of twine behind so you couldn't see it. And I wanted to put a little bow on top of the tag as well. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just tying a little bow and that will get glued down with some liquid glue on top of the tag. And then the joy, the picture, and the little tag will all get adhered to the page. So that's pretty much what the page is going to look like. I'm just going to finish gluing everything down. And then once everything is glued down, I will end up working on the journaling. Again, I will be using my typewriter and I will be type of the vintage typewriter and then cutting them into strips and just kind of filling in all the empty space of the ledger paper. And the ledger paper was nice because it allowed me to make sure my journaling was at least somewhat straight. And I don't show that all on video because it's really boring watching me glue down a bunch of strips and cutting them out. So at the very end, I will show you what that looks like, and then I will also have some still pictures as well. So just using my art glitter glue to glue this down. I go back and forth with different adhesives. I really like the art glitter glue because it dries very, very fast. I like this dry adhesive for like the photos and things. And then I also pull out my what is it, the 3-in-1 or the Fabri-Tac a lot as well. I like the Fabri-Tac because it's an alcohol-based glue and it doesn't warp the page. But when I'm doing little embellishments like this and I just need a little bit of glue, the art glitter glue is really nice because I have this really fine point tip on the bottle and it dries pretty fast and I'm not really worried about warping when it comes to these pieces like this. So that is what it looks like. Thank you guys so much for joining me and I'll be back again with day 3. Have a great day. Bye everybody.